Nice to have you here. And we have, you know what? Hold on. I'm going to get a better microphone for this. All right. Microphone should be much better. Just noticed it wasn't plugged in a second ago. All right. So we've got Greg and James Kern, Rudy, Sergio. How are you, folks?
You're doing well. How about you?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty good. All right. So let's talk about lighting because that's kind of what we do on this every other Monday show. And I know there's a lot of people not here because of the holiday here in the States. And by the way, Fuji has 5 rolls at Amazon. It's 4 rolls, 4 rolls of 24 exposure Fuji 400 speed color film for $8, which is pretty nice price for those of you shooting film. Anyway, I got my box in yesterday. All right, so Sergio sent a couple of images over, and I got them loaded up here, Sergio. So tell me what it is, sir, that you wanted to discuss about these photographs.
Well, okay, Don. This photograph from Albert Watson, I can see that the nail tips reveal some reflection, but
Yep.
I wanted to know what lighting he's using because the shadows are pretty sharp.
Well, if you watch the videos, I'm sure you did, you'll know that Watson doesn't use a lot of soft boxes, but he uses a lot of soft boxed light. In other words, without the diffuser. Also uses a lot of scrims. Now, I don't know what he used on this. I'm looking at the highlights as well, and I'm seeing a fairly decent size highlight for fingernail. I'm also seeing a sharp edge. Okay. What else do we see? We got a sharp shadow under the lips here as well, but we don't have one under the nose, which may just be the shape of this young lady's face too. Her nose may turn up just a little bit to let light in. Perhaps that's why she was cast. I don't know. But we do have this fairly sharp shadow here. If I were called to do this shot, I would start out with a beauty dish. That's the first thing I would start out with. Or the other light that I like very much is my 4x4-inch softbox without the soft material over the front, without the diffuser. It's a real poppy light, and because it's 4 feet square, it's a pretty good size poppy light. So when you bring it in like this, it's definitely a nice poppy light. And if I moved it back to like 8 feet back, I think I could get that kind of reflection on the fingernails, and I think I could get pretty close to that on the face. Notice the light falls off real fast here on the chin, and then right at the bottom of this, we've got a white card somewhere down there below her, thin one, to give that little highlight runs back along the chin. And if you look at this picture with critical eyes, you realize how important that last little line is. Very important. So I don't know how Albert Watson lit it. I can tell you how I would have begun to light it if this was my assignment. Probably my 4x4 box without a grid or my 28-inch beauty dish.
Cool, Don.
Right straight over camera.
What I was looking for.
Yep, right straight over camera.
I want to try something kind of with that look. It's pretty cool.
We also don't know that this isn't photoshopped either, right? Obviously, this model does not have her hands up holding this purse.
It would be tough.
Yeah, so there's there's something else going on here as well. So, um, but the purse may have been shot. I think it's obviously shot separately than the face. So we also can see that this has got some sort of like mask or something running around her face here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that is, but it's very cool, isn't it?
Oh yeah. And if you're using a beauty dish without a grid, or
Yeah,
with a grid, you can.
yeah. Most of the time when I use a beauty dish, I don't use a grid.
Mm-hmm.
So, um,
Okay. Thank you.
yep, yep. And you sent a
These
second one as
discussions are
well.
great.
What's that?
Yeah, these discussions are great because sometimes, the thought process behind this.
Well, and like I say, I don't know how Albert Watson. I don't want to speak for Albert Watson, but I know if I looked at this photograph, that's where I'd start. May not be where I end up, but it's definitely where I start. Okay. And what about this photograph, Sergio?
Well, the first time I saw it was pretty intriguing because I didn't know if that. Then I realized later that she's using a black dress. And in the beginning, I thought that shadows were being cast
Ah,
from from above.
no, that's actually a dress that she's in there.
Hmm.
But and her face, I think this goes all the way up. I don't think that's a shadow. I think that's a covering on her head. Okay,
Hmm.
with me? Because this thing isn't
Yeah,
throwing any shadow anywhere else.
that's the thing. I
Hmm.
can see only her tiny shadow of her shoe, you know,
Right
in the
there.
bottom. Yeah, and there's no other shadows. So that was, you know, and
So that tells me
it's a beautiful image. I thought it was Skrebneski, but it seems it's Herb
Ritz.
Ritz.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So this is suspended, right?
Hmm.
And it's up high. She's closing it in with her hands here, pulling this around. And we've got this little shadow going this way. Knowing Herb Ritz, knowing there's no Photoshop involved in Herb Ritz work, right?
Hmm.
Then we have to wonder where the shadow of this thing is actually falling. And I don't know the answer to that. I don't know what's going on here. Something tells me that whatever's going on there isn't what we think is going on there. If you get my drift.
Yeah.
But it's
Oh, it's an amazing picture.
yeah,
I
it's
just.
when you can do this kind of photograph and create this kind of um, the mind knows that there's something happening here that we can't figure out. And I think the biggest thing that we can't figure out is where's the shadow from that thing flying in the air. She's
Hmm.
obviously, there's our highlight, right? So the light's coming from
Yeah,
over here and kind of high, and yet there's nothing down there. So
exactly. Tough one.
yeah, it's a tough one for me. I don't know the answer to it. Um, but it is interesting what you can do with white and black, isn't it?
Cool on.
Create a visual, um, an exciting visual
Exactly.
with just
It
those two
looks
colors and
amazing.
those shapes, and it's just incredible. Well, Herb Ritz was that kind of photographer. Um, I also don't know what's going on back here. I'm looking at this foreground here.
It really
Kind of
catches the
looks
eye.
like the
Yeah.
salt flats, but yet back
One of
here,
my favorites.
I think this is probably a building downtown or something. With maybe it's on a rooftop. This might be that roof coating they use. I don't know what it is, but I mean that's too perfect of a horizon, and there's nothing in the sky to give us any kind of
I thought it was I thought it was sand, maybe beach,
could be
but I don't know.
Could be, but that shot doesn't look terribly overexposed. I mean, our shadows are pretty deep in here, and to overexpose that background, we've had to overexpose this quite a bit, and also create some kind of flare around the edge here, and I don't see any flare at all.
It's amazing.
So where's the shadow going? Well, maybe it's going off this way. I don't know. Interesting. Love the shot.
Yeah. Thank you, Don.
You bet.
Great stuff.
Bet. Any other questions, folks? Anybody bring anything else to discuss? All right.
Don?
Yeah.
Hello, Don.
Hey, Greg.
I have a question.
Yeah.
For that picture, could that be salt flats?
You know, it could, but I don't. What is this back there? Now, he didn't shoot at the salt flats very often. He shot at that dry lake bed outside of Mojave.
Okay, well, that could be a dry lake bed.
Yeah. But what's this perfect white wall back there?
Okay, this guy. I don't know.
Well, and you may be right. You may be right. Maybe he's down low enough, and he found a spot where there's no mountains, or there's enough smog in the air, because that place can get pretty smoggy too. That is just blending, and maybe in the dark room they dodged some things out. I don't know. It certainly could be, but it's certainly intriguing that this big piece of material is not casting a shadow where we can see it on that image, where
That's right.
where her heels are.
Yep. For a lot of these photographers we've been looking at, we study their portraits and we study their lighting, okay, and then we take that as inspiration to do an image. So I guess my question is, when someone like Watson goes out and shoots somebody, does he already have in mind that it's going to be a shot from, let's say, chest up, and he's going to have this lighting, and that's it? It's his chest up and the face with that lighting. Because
you faded on me there, Greg. What was that again?
Hello.
Hey.
Sorry,
your audio is real loud, and then all of a sudden it fades out. I didn't catch the last part.
My headset decided to disconnect. Okay. All right. So now I pulled the microphone closer. We see the finished shots that they produced, which is, let's say, chest up, head, waist up, whatever. Now, do they go into that photo shoot knowing that that's what they're going to shoot?
Generally. I would say generally. The one photographer in the portrait class that we looked at, Skrebneski, was known for, wild cropping of finished work. Herb Ritz, if you looked at his contact sheets, it'd probably be pretty close to what you see here. So,
okay.
Just depends on the photographer. But most of the photographers that we're looking at, I would say little to no cropping.
Yeah, no, it's not so much the cropping as much the lighting. Like they have the lighting set up to shoot from, let's say, from chest up.
Mm-hmm.
So now that's the shot that they use, and that's the shot that we're looking at, correct?
Okay, yeah.
All right. So now, we look at it. They had a light here. They had a light there. But, what I'm noticing is as I shoot people for this, I'll set up the light. I'll do a few test shots with myself in there, probably from, waist up or something, or chest up. And I go, okay, that looks good for what I'm looking for. And then I bring the model in, and I start off with shooting them tight, then I get in real tight, then I get out looser, then then it's kind of like after a while of them in the one pose, I spin them around, turn them the other way, stand up, do this, do
Mhm.
that, and I'll change the lighting a little bit if I have them sitting and then stand, but then by the end of the shoot, it's kind of like what I started off with is not what I finish with.
Light, you
Do
mean,
you-
yeah, but you say you're not changing your light?
I change it depending on whether they're standing or sitting. I'll lower and raise,
Right.
but I'm not sitting there. Okay, you're now standing, so let me swing this. If I start off with a softbox overhead and some white cards, I'll pretty much leave it there,
Oh,
unless I've got to kind of move the softbox one way or the other just because of where they're positioned.
I got it. Got it. That's not how I do it. And it may be how other photographers do it. I don't do that. I light it for a full length. I may still walk in and get a headshot because, she looks real pretty or she turns her head this way. But my full length lighting is probably not my headshot lighting. If I light for a headshot, that's probably all I'm going to do. So I might shoot, belly button up, chest up, tight head, all with that lighting. But I wouldn't back up and do a full length. Each time
I normally
change.
Yeah, I normally don't do those, the full length, because I don't have usually I'm not set up with a backdrop and stuff.
Right. Right. Did you see?
All right,
Did you see
like,
those? Mark. We're going to look at Mark Seliger next in one of the portrait classes. Did you see the Seliger portraits that he did at the Oscars that were floating around on the Facebook page?
I haven't seen them yet. No, it's been a
Well,
busy weekend.
Let's see if we can find. Here we go. His Instagram. This is kind of a really nice little insight insight into shooting. You can see these are from the Oscars. Okay, so he set up his light booth thing here at the Oscars, and he's shooting. So here's what he's shooting. Now he's shooting pretty much thighs up. I didn't see in any of the photographs that I saw of the pictures that were printed any full length. So here we have some examples of the shots. So here we have this photograph, and then we have this photograph somewhere of her being lit. Hold on, is it up here? Where is it?
Now, is he using that same lighting setup for every shot, that big octobot?
Yeah, similar to, but he is making some changes. So let's look at this particular shot here. So you see the octobox, and then you see the flag, right? What you're not seeing is there's another flag on the other side. So then when we go and find the photograph that this was of, if we can find it here, doesn't look like it's there, does it? Pretty girl in the purple dress didn't make the cut. Well, this young lady, let's do it that way, in the red. Lady in the red, she's sitting, and pretty much all of those have those flags in front. So let's look at this lighting, right? You see this nicely presented soft light on her, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dark side, dark field on this side to give her some shape. And then we have some darkness around here, and we've got this is a little dark over here. Now let's go back and look at the lighting. And what's he doing here? Octa, flag A, flag B.
And those would be scrims.
Scrims,
right?
I'm sorry. Yeah, scrims.
Yes.
And
They're diffusing light.
just kicking the light down a little bit here, and then moderately here, and a little bit more up there. So he's using these scrims to shape the light and create a little bit of a feather. And notice the light is not aimed at the subject either, is it?
No, it is not. No,
It's feathered.
it is. It is
Coming this way.
feathered.
Exactly. Probably because Seliger's using a little bit of the ambient. You can see the ambient around. He's using the ambient for his shot as well. So he's cutting this light down a little bit. But you see what this is, got some nice ambient going on here. We got a beautiful large box with some scrims in front of it. And one of the things I said last week is absolutely true. And that is, when I see the more experienced professionals shooting, I see more flags and scrims than when I see newbies shooting.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's a difference. There's a point where it really makes a difference. This is one that's interesting. Here we go. Got right here. Look at this. This is the available light. This is taken, I don't know, iPhone probably, right? So this is the light that's there already. And then when the strobe goes off, you get this. Get a little bit of highlight right here. But notice how the strobe isn't really knocking out the ambient, is it?
No.
So he's controlling that with those scrims.
All right. So if someone like who was one that used a lot of flags? I mean, obviously, if you're setting up to use a lot of flags in a shot, then for the most part, the model's not going to be moving much.
Right.
And you're basically going to be saying, okay, I'm shooting you looking to the right. It's going to be chest up, and that's it. And without changing the light and the flags, you're basically going to be in that position.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much in that
All right.
way, yeah. So he's got a vision for each one of these ladies for what they're wearing and how he's going to shoot them. And, he's got looks like he's got a stool or a posing table out there or something that this guy's leaning on. So he's got this out there, and that's the shot. He's not going for full length. Now, God only knows he may be shooting full length, but I doubt it. Why bother, Beautiful photograph, beautifully lit, and really, really simple. I love this. And that, like I posted in the Facebook page, this should give a lot of people who don't have studios kind of some real thoughts, huh? You don't need a studio. You need a backdrop and a light and a nice shady place to work. Unless it's, really cold or really hot.
When the circus comes to town, they'll be missing a tent this year.
Yeah, Mark, shoot, always forget his name. He's in Chicago. I always forget his name, and because I always forget his name, I tell myself that I always forget his name, and then what do? I always forget his Mark Tucker. No, not Mark Tucker. Oh well, anyway, he went to the circus and actually bought a tent. He asked them how much it would cost to replace one of the tents they had. They gave him a price. He wrote him a check, took the tent home. And it had all those, where they'd spray paint numbers on it and, just holes and rips and stuff. It's just really, really amazing background. There's another shot. Notice the scrims. It looks to me like the ambience going away. It's getting darker. I guess that was the Oscars. Is that what that was? I think it was. The Oscars. Something like that. Isabella. Yeah. So, it's one of those things to keep in mind. And Mark is such a great photographer. It's just really fun to look what he does. But it's one of those things to keep in mind that, really, really have to own that light. Everything that's happening with that light it's yours.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to use it. Get some scrims made. get a couple of stands, and you know how many stands you need, folks. One more than you have, and go out and see what happens. Last week, I believe, we were talking, or somewhere we were talking about a photographer who is uh, uh, widely sort of credited as making the softbox the real popular light, and that was, and I couldn't remember his name at the time, and it was Phil Marco. And Phil Marco is a New York photographer for years. You can see he's pretty much got that light thing down. Tabletop shooter, became a director, did an awful lot of award-winning commercials, but he is all about light. It is just amazing what he does with, scrims and boxes and just amazing things. Phil Marco, and then on the West Coast we have Terry Heffernan. Let's see. We have his older work, new work, portfolios. Terry Heffernan's fabulous photographer in San Francisco. And I can't see how to make the thing go. Okay, it's underneath my go to webinar thingy. Notice how he uses the specular as part of the design element of the photograph. Softbox? Oh yeah. Big softbox. Probably a softbox behind a scrim. And he's still shooting out there in San Francisco, still shooting this beautiful, beautiful work. Then we go back to Phil Marco, and we see Phil's work. Looks like getting out of the studio for this portfolio. Always about light. Always about light. Light and color. It's fun to go and study some of these guys, some of these. Wow, it's funny how it's interesting to me how few photographs Phil Marco is showing. He is a prolific photographer with an incredible portfolio. And number 5. I don't know if he's still doing commercials or not, but he disappeared from the still life scene for a while, and is back now, showing work. Isn't this amazing work? Phil Marco. Go to his website. This Google search here. This is the work that I remember from Phil Marco. This is the kind of stuff that got me so excited about still life photography back in the day. These big, beautifully gorgeous lit softbox / scrim lighting and detail. All of his work was done on 8x10 cameras, so it was so incredibly sharp. And absolutely, you could touch and feel the textures. You knew what the light was like because you could see it. Terry Heffernan. This work went out of style for a while, and Heffernan and everybody moved along with the style. But I think, believe me, I think this style is coming back big time. And so it's nice to see that Terry and some of the guys, Colin Beckett, look at this is Colin Beckett. The shot is very Terry Heffernan. Everybody pays homage to Terry Heffernan because he was like the guy on the West Coast. He was a West Coast Phil Marco, I guess. Questions? What do you think? What do you think of this work?
I think it's gorgeous work. I love his
Just a minute.
lighting. It just is really incredible. Makes me wonder how many years of working with it took him to get there.
Yep. This is the Phil Marco. I'm sorry, I was saying Terry Heffernan. I meant Phil Marco. We get over here to Terry Heffernan, and one of these. I love this shot. Really, really love that shot. Thought that was just a brilliant photograph when he did it back in the day. Very much texture, shape, color, all of those
So
things.
back up to the baseball bats and the balls, Don. So how do you think he lit that? I see that he's got, light on the face of the balls there, and it's coming off the bat. The shadows on the foreground side toward us as he's looking at that. Looks to me like he must have had a light kind of coming in and scraping across that to bring the texture out in
Yep.
there.
There's your highlight right there. So it's one big soft box above and slightly back.
How far above do you think?
Maybe 2 feet,
Okay.
and it's a big one. It's a big, like 4x6. It's a big box, and it may actually have a 4x6 diffuser hung, and then a softbox
Mm-hmm.
behind that diffuser about a foot back, which is it's like a big double diffusion.
Yeah. Yeah. It's beautiful light.
Yeah, it really is, and like I say, it kind of went out of vogue for a while, but it's back, coming back strong. And even when Heffernan moved into more modern, is this his? Yeah, more modern looking thing with the white background, he still maintained that super feeling of texture. Now this obviously is not a softbox, correct?
No, he's got hard shadows.
Yep, pretty hard shadow right here. So what you do is you reinvent yourself, and that's kind of what we do as photographers. So he moved from doing a lot of the big softbox into doing some very hard things. When you go to his website, Heffernan's website, you get a lot of this texture. Lots and lots of texture. 57 Chevy.
You know what boggles my mind is where do they get the ideas for these shots?
I think what you do is you sketch them, and because you're always thinking of different ideas all day long. Every day you think of different ideas, and what we don't do is if we don't write them down, we forget them. And I think that one of the things that a photographer like Terry Heffernan does here is takes the mundane or the normal and tries to figure out how we're going to show it in a way that makes it exceptional. So we got a hat and a scythe. Some photographers would shoot the hat and the scythe hanging up on an old barn, natural light. It'd be a beautiful shot. Some photographers might take this and put it with a person, and it'd be a beautiful shot. Heffernan says, okay, I'm going to do this, but I'm going to put it on pure white, and I'm going to do something different with it in his style. So he presents it. This old-time egg beater, let's light it from the side and get that neat shadow going on. He's taking something looking at it and trying to figure out how can he make an image in his style that makes these things, pop. Taking it down to the essence. Look at this old hammer. It's just he doesn't need anything else except this texture around it to say this is that old hammer. He just wants you to look at it and enjoy it for what it is. It's got, it's handmade, it's hand forged, it's been used for, decades. It's got nicks and bumps on it, and yet he lights it as with the same awe and respect that he would light a, 12th century Ming vase or something. And I think that's what makes the work so imaginative.
Part of what makes that shot too is his background.
I'm sorry, the hammer? Yeah. And you know what? Heffernan could have shot this hammer against a pure white background, and it would still be just as interesting. It would just be different. And it just matters to you is what's in, because it would then be more of a, what would we call it? More of an icon? Not an icon, an artifact, right? It would be more, this is more of a still life, and if we put it on white, it would be more like an artifact, correct?
Yeah, because if you put it on white, it just becomes about the hammer. And yes, the hammer's aged and it's got a great patina and it's been used and it has history and so on and so forth. But when you couple it with that background that he's put in there, it then becomes about a whole period. It's aged. It's, it just takes on a whole different life. It says something completely different.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. This background versus no background on the orange hat. Somebody trying to get
Don. I was going to ask what's his name? Heffernan. Yeah, when he's producing an image like that, like a still life, is he mostly in putting it on his portfolio? He's mostly trying to show what he can do, or is he actually selling that image? Was that image used in for what, advertising?
Sometimes, I don't know on these specific images. These are things from the Amish. This could be a personal project, or it could have been something he was hired to photograph. Okay, but when you're shooting stuff like this to go in your portfolio, you're trying to do those things that we talked about in the portfolio workshop that I put out last week, which is show that you can solve problems. Like, hey, I can make a cool shot out of 2 potatoes and an old carving knife. Trying to show the subject matter, which he's doing here, and showing your expertise in lighting, composition, all of those things. So he essentially took 2 potatoes, a bowl, and an old whatever, and made a very cool photograph out of it. Could you do that? Yeah, you could. All of you on this broadcast could do that. Then they would all be different. They'd all be just a little bit different. But Heffernan is, texture, color, and design. Always looking for harmony in design. I just love this stuff. we always end up looking at stuff I like. Sorry about that, but bring somebody and we'll look at stuff they like or y'all like too. So.
Well, I love the patina on those and the colors. I happen to be a big fan of that kind of stuff too. I really am drawn to that particular family of colors, those real rich, warm tones. I just love it. And I love old stuff too.
So think about, I went out this morning to make photographs. I made 8 photographs and came home. I wasn't feeling it. The light was really terrible, really fast. Um, and I thought, I'm not gonna just start clicking away. Um, I'm not feeling it. I don't want to go up to the place where I photographed so many times and walk around and take pictures of the same stuff I photographed before. I just don't want to do it. So I came home and started sketching out what I'll be doing this week. And most of it has to do with I'm going to start shooting here. We've got some nice temperatures outside. I'll be shooting here on my porch, and I'll be shooting more stuff like this. I want to increase my still life portfolio while I have this nice weather and can work outside. I will be going down the studio to do some stuff, but we got a catalog going in the studio for the next week, so I really can't go down there and interfere with Dave's catalog. So, and I need to
Don,
have a place here where I can shoot whenever I want. Yeah, yes, sir.
what do you have a bunch of props in your studio that you use in your still life? And if you do, where do you find them? Because I've thought about, hitting the old secondhand stores and so on and so forth. And
Yep, secondhand stores are great. They're for that. And to answer your question, not as much as we used to have, but we do have a real nice selection of surfaces. We probably
yeah, okay.
have 24 different, old barnwood,
Mhm.
redwood fencing type stuff we can use, all kinds of stuff like that. But as far as props and things, you know what? Let me tell you what happens to me. My tendency is to I get a prop and I keep it. I save everything. I'm like
Yeah,
Mr. Hoarder, you know. And what happens when you do that is you run out of space and you stop getting new props, and then you start going and shooting the same old crap that you shot before. I'm forcing
yeah,
myself now. I go out and I get props, something I want to shoot. I shoot it, then I get rid of it. I don't want it around. I don't want it. I don't want to shoot it again. It's like that trip I made today. I ended up at a place where I have gone many times, and creatively for my brain today, the well was dry. I didn't feel it, I didn't see it, and you know I I shot a couple of frames and I came home and got some other work done. And that picture right there is a picture of white on white. You can't get any better than that. I have no idea what that was. All right. So you can see how his older work influences his newer work, and I hope this gives you guys some ideas. Like, look how simple many of his props are. Bag of bag of rice. This is stuff you can get this kind of bread at local bakeries. You can get
yeah.
one of these old bread things at a Goodwill store. And you can make photographs. The neat thing to me about making still life is, one, they never not show up. When you're shooting
That's true.
people, it becomes an interesting part of your life, how many times they don't show up. And B, you can do it anytime you want. All you need is a 4-foot card table and a boom for a light. You could be making photographs. I think that's really cool.
Don,
Yes,
what are your thoughts on like doing these still lifes like on location? Because sometimes it's just
sure.
find interesting stuff,
Yeah.
and but how to stay with lightweight, and what would you recommend? Like a specific size of a softbox or something?
To go out
So
into the
you won't,
field, if
yeah,
you want to travel really light,
staying lightweight,
yeah, the Westcott 28 with a double speed light inside it.
hmm
So you got two speed lights in there, half power. You get a really nice poppy light if you need it. Remember, I'm in the sunlight here where it's just bright all the time. Um, I think that and a small boom and a good stand. I don't care about, some things you can pack light, your stand you can't. Lightweight stands are just, death traps. They're going to fall.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
get a halfway decent stand and take it. And then take a couple of water bottles with you, the larger bottles. You can put them on your hip, right? Number one, you need to have water when you're out shooting. Number two, they make great weights, to hold that stand down. Add to it. I use my camera bag as my camera weight thing. Did you guys ever see that picture I did of the camera bag?
No, I don't think so.
I have a Tenba rolling bag, and on the back of it, it has two straps made for holding a tripod. And so I take the Tenba bag and I put it right up next to the stand, and I put the straps around the stand. So now my bag full of cannons is holding my stand down. And that bag full of cannons is really heavy. God, do I know that. Interesting.
Don, regarding lighting, it was that photographer Peter Lindbergh.
Mm-hmm.
He uses that tint.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And it said always facing north. Exactly.
Is that what he said? Always facing north?
I thought you said
Yeah,
that.
pretty much. Yeah, north light. See, north light, when you set it up to shoot into the south, north light, the sun will never go into a tent facing north. The sun in North America. Now, where you are, it would be facing south, wouldn't it?
That's the thing,
Yeah.
So I set the tent and everything, and I invited this model. It was the first time that a model different than my sister appeared. And so I took her outside, and the tent was there. I said, now, let's photograph here. And she was like, her eyes were, she was closing her eyes because she couldn't stand the light. And I was sure I was north, I didn't realize until later that I should be facing south.
Yep. Because in North America, if we face north, the sun will never come in that tent. It'll always be backlight. And if you're south of the equator, a couple of whatever it is, at least 2 clicks, 2 of those squares down, you'll always have backlight. Now, if you're right on the equator, of course, you'll have sun coming straight down pretty much most of the day. Hard to get backlight on the equator, no matter where you are. You'd have to be up in the morning and in the evening, because in the middle of the day, no backlight. In the summertime here, I'm in Phoenix, so I'm in the lower part of the United States. If I go up to Bozeman, Montana, on the same day, it's going to be interesting because the sun is about 8 or 10 degrees more to the south. So it's actually much more of a southern light midday. I'm talking midday than it is here in Phoenix. So when I would shoot in Chicago, I'd be surprised because I could be outside at 1 o'clock and I'd still have backlight. Here in Phoenix at 1 o'clock, the sun is so high it's coming down the bridge of the nose. So the model standing there, she's got light on the top of her head and she's also got light on her nose. So I've got to fix that.
What are your thoughts on that white tennis shoes, the lighting? I can't see the black, the black is definitely black.
Yep, looks to me like it's like he's using a lot of grids here, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, using a lot of grids.
I would be tempted to bring some white cards in.
Yep. Well, this is.
But it's definitely a look.
Yeah, this is his.
Look, he's cool.
Yeah, this is his new style. Very much like my friend Rick. Man, I'm bad with names tonight. Rick Gale. Rick is a local shooter here. Rick uses a lot of grids when he's shooting.
You mean a lot in numbers?
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes he'll use as many as 3 different grids. This is a very nice. This is a very interesting thing that happened to him. He had an absolutely stunning studio. It was one of the most beautiful studios in the Southwest, and a kid set it on fire, and it burned so fast that he didn't get anything out. 25 years of photography, negatives, slides, lost, everything lost. And so he did still lifes of some of the things that they were able to save. Really tragic. The thing burned to the ground in something like, something like 14 minutes. It was just, went up and that was it. It was a terrible, terrible thing. But this was kind of fun where he went and the ranch market. And this is stuff that he did, personal project. Went down and picked up all these things and came back. Look at this. See the grids? Lots and lots of grids. Sometimes 2, sometimes 3. Trying always to work within his style to kind of create a much more interesting photograph out of things that
What
are.
kind of surface do you think he's shooting on there to get that reflection? If you back up a few shots, go on back.
This one here?
Yeah.
Okay, probably black plexi.
Okay, that's what I was thinking it might be.
Yeah, probably black plexi, yeah. So, a great shooter, really nice guy. So, what else, folks? Yes, sir.
When you're using grids, some people put a socket. Can I say socket?
A sock?
Yeah, socket.
Uh-huh.
What's the proposal?
Well, it depends. You can put the sock. If you put the sock on first and then the grid, then you're adding a little bit of diffusion to the light that's coming through the grid. Okay. If you put a grid on and then a sock, I don't know if you're doing much of anything.
I think the sock over the grid defeats it, doesn't it?
It totally defeats you haven't done anything at that point. I mean, you know what it would do? It'd make a smaller grid shape or a smaller diffuser shape, obviously, because the grid's going to focus the light more through the diffuser, but it doesn't, I don't see the benefit in it. I do see the benefit doing it the other way. And sometimes you might have to do something that there's no real benefit to it. You just end up doing it because there's that little bit of light. You like it. You just go, and you know what? I tried it with and I tried it without and I like it. There you go. You don't have to justify it to anybody. If you like it,
Sure.
you like it. That's exactly right. So.
But what I don't get it. You diffuse the light and then you put it in a grid. Is that?
Yeah, if you put the diffuser in first,
concentrate.
You're going to soften the light. The grid just softens just aims the light. It keeps it from spreading out, keeps it going forward.
Mm-hmm.
So the diffuser behind it would just add a little bit of diffusion to the light that's going through. It's not going to make a huge difference, but it'll make a difference, okay? If you put it on the outside, I don't know if it makes much of a difference. So the best thing to do would be to get that grid and the diffuser, set it up and shoot something with all 3 ways.
Yeah.
And see what it does for you, because, you saw the picture of Mark Seliger with all those flying scrims. those are done on this. He didn't draw those in. He didn't go, okay, well, when I get to this setup tomorrow, I'm going to put this here. I'm going to put these scrims here. He gets there, he does a shot, and he goes, it's a little too bright there. Let's knock it down with a number 2. Let's bring a number 4 in at the bottom. All those types of things, because he's building it, and that's what you have to do too. The most important thing you can do is to test every single light you have with every single combination that you want to use. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that shot.
Mm-hmm.
Neat. All right.
Hey, Don.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Going back to your last thought about testing every combination, a very patient model would be in store.
I'm sorry.
I'm only saying that because like when I set up, I put the timer on the camera, not the timer, but I put the remote on the camera. I stand in front of the lights, I take a picture, boom, and I go, all right, that looks pretty good, And then if I'm thinking of using flags or diffusing the light, I'll put that in there, and then I take another picture, and I like the effect that it looks like on me. And of course, the model comes in, and she looks entirely different. So.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And you have to start changing things around, right?
Yeah.
So
I'm betting anything that he added those scrims after he started doing tests with a girl in a shiny gown.
Okay, all right. See, yes.
But he had them ready to go. He had them ready to go, and he had his big light ready to go, and he'd probably figured out the feather from shooting his assistant or whoever was standing in.
Okay.
And then tweaks it at the last little bit.
All right.
Yeah, you have to do that. There's a method. I mean, if you can get a model for a couple hours, and you sit there and you take your umbrella. Let's say you're going to work with a 60-inch umbrella. You put it like oblique to her, so it's 45 degrees off. 90 degrees off of her. Then you bring it in to like 65, then 45, then 35, then 15, and then put it right over camera and then move it to the left. And you record all those things. Then you take it back to the other side. You put a scrim on it, and you do the same thing back around. You catalog it. Then you do the same thing with the softbox. Then you do it with a white card on the left, no white card on the right, white card on both sides, white card below, no cards on the right or left, white card below, white card on left, white card below, white card on right, white card below, all cards, white card below, black card on left, black card on right. You see what I'm saying? It'll take you a couple of hours. But you go through all those permutations with one or two lights, whether it's a softbox, a beauty dish, an Octa, or whatever your chosen like main tool is going to be, and you will learn a lot. That does not mean that you have to carry those pictures around with you on your iPhone and stare at them before you set up for a shot. It just means that once you've done it, it glues into your brain. It goes into your brain, and you've done it, and you start to see those things transferring out as a pre-visualization instead of a afterthought.
Instead of guesswork. Okay. All right. One last question I had. The past few shots that we did for 102, except for one maybe, like they were in black and white. So when I talk to the people that are coming, I say, well, the shot's going to be in black and white. They say, what should I wear? And I said, well, something you're comfortable in. I don't really know what they have to wear, so I say something you're comfortable in, and I tell them it's going to be in black and white. So a couple of times I've had people come with black and white.
Yeah.
Which, of course, doesn't really do much for the post-processing because it's black and white, right? So It's not like you can take a red and bring it light, a yellow and bring it brighter and stuff. So what is your suggestion for that? What do you tell a model to say, okay?
Well, if you've seen the model, if you know who she is or he is, then be specific. And if think of a model right now that you know. Okay, you got her in your mind.
Yeah.
Would she look good in a big cowl neck sweater? That her face?
Mm,
Would she look good in a leather jacket? Shiny leather jacket, hair pulled up. Would she look good in a Levi
I think.
jacket and like a white wife beater type T-shirt underneath it? Hair all kind of messy. Because what you want to do, Greg, is you want to be really specific.
Okay. All right. All right.
They'll go, believe me, they'll go and get what you need, unless
Hmm.
unless it's outrageous or terribly expensive or something like
Well,
that.
yeah, many of them, the recent ones are not models. They're people that I know,
Hmm.
acquaintances, friends, people I work out with. So I guess it's a little bit harder to say, okay, we'll bring,
Ask them what they
something.
have. Ask them what they have. Say, do you have a black leather jacket? See, I've got a couple of go-tos. Okay, one's uh, I love denim on
Hmm.
girls. I love um, denim jackets on girls. First thing is, you got a Levi jacket? You have anything denim like that? I don't like. I tell them what not to bring. I don't like spaghetti straps. I don't like to do headshots with spaghetti strap tops. I hate doing head straps with sleeveless. If I mean, I would rather have the girl sit there and wrap something around her bra and just do bare shoulders than do sleeveless. I hate sleeveless tops for headshots.
Okay.
I want to cover, if I'm going to cover the shoulders, I want to cover the arms. Otherwise, it looks like two big pieces of ham hocks hanging out. You know, that's a personal thing with me. I'll say, do you have any big big fluffy cowl neck sweaters or big loose fitting sweaters? That can be kind of cool. I think it's, if you give them an idea, they'll say, no, you know what I do have? I have this. And you'll kind of go, okay, that'd be cool. You see what I'm saying?
All right.
When we say,
Yeah.
I don't know, or just pick something comfortable, we're throwing
Hmm.
control of the image back to them, Greg. We don't want to do that.
Okay. All right.
It's your picture.
Okay. All right. So it doesn't really matter if they just bring black and white at that point. It'll be the
Yep.
texture, the
If
type
I
of.
know I'm going to do black and white, first thing I tell them is no pastel. I don't want any
Okay.
pinks, or I don't want any sky blues. I don't want any baby blue. I don't want any yellow. I don't want any pastels. Blues,
All right.
reds, grays, blacks, that all works.
Mm-hmm.
Because invariably, when you say you're going to do black and white, they'll show up with a pink top and a light blue sweater, a light blue skirt or something. You kind of go, oh, that's not going to work. The same color gray.
Yes. Yes. All right. So yeah, I get the pastels will all be the grays. So you want actually true colors.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I always tell them
Okay.
think. I always tell them think contrast.
Yes.
Think contrast. But I really do, for headshots, I'm really specific with what not to wear and some of the things that I think that they would look good in. I'll tell women dresses that have really interesting necklines or collars, or an interesting neckline with a large uh, piece of jewelry. And I'll say, look, if this is a business website, what I'll say is this is a business casual shot. So what would you wear to a business casual meeting? It's not a sexy shot. We're not doing a boudoir session. What would you wear to that meeting? And give them some real guidelines. Because one last thing, Greg, one last thing is, if one of the things I hear a lot, photographers say a lot, the model will say, well, they'll come in with a, handful of clothes, or, a big suitcase full of stuff, and they'll have it, and they'll pull it out, and they'll say, oh, okay, what should I put on? And the photographer say, well, I don't care. Well, if you don't care, then you're out of control. I mean, I don't mean wildly out of control. You're not into the shoot. I say,
Yeah,
let's take a look at what you have. I want to pick what they wear first because then I'm in control of the shoot.
Yeah, when they bring a bunch of stuff, I look at it and then I decide what they should put on. Yeah,
Exactly.
and I break out the steamer and
Yep. And something, yeah. I used to have to tell models, the model mayhem models, I'd put in the thing, please don't bring your clothes in a bag. Seriously. God.
it all goes in a duffel bag and it comes up crumpled.
Oh God. And they pull it out and they go, well, it's a little wrinkled. You think? You had it wadded up in a bag. Of course
I think, to tell you the truth, like Dee used to, I think she brought a big bag of clothes each time, and I think each time she brought it so I would steam it. And we would choose one or two out of them, but I ended up steaming most of her wardrobe.
I see. So she had you figured out. Yeah, very cool. Very cool.
All right, thank you.
You bet. Anybody else? Well, all right. Light Conversations, Volume 4 comes to an end. Thanks, guys, for coming out, and I think we got a pretty good show and talked about a lot of things.
Great stuff, Don.
Fantastic.
Great stuff.
I will see you guys in a couple weeks. Some of you guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Don.
Thank you so much.
All right. Good night.
Good night.